This is Shane Brockhoff with AgriGold Hybrids in western Iowa. Currently standing in a cornfield. Going to talk a little bit about corn leaf diseases and what I'm finding out here today at this time of year. So what we're looking at here is a lesion of northern corn leaf blight. Very typical cigar-shaped lesion on the corn leaf here. You can see it's got kind of this margin here. This lesion is going to continue to advance and grow and spread. This is a fungus disease that overwinters in corn residue. And through the cool, wet spring we had, a lot of splashing on the leaves. These lesions got started early. I saw the first signs of infection about V8, V9 here in western Iowa, which is very early. Last year in 2014, and we had early infection at V14. So what we witnessed last year, infection pre-tassel, had very significant and rapid corn death prior to finishing grain fill and caused some major yield loss in susceptible hybrids. I'm standing currently in a susceptible hybrid, one of our competitor brands. Basically these plants have northern corn leaf blight lesions all the way up the canopy. So, you know, as I scan around, I can find them. So this disease, once it has lesions, it'll sporulate, produce spores, and then it can splash around in water, blow around in the wind. So rapid infection can occur throughout the canopy and as a very aggressive fungal disease. So finding several other diseases as well out here. I'm looking right now, I'm looking at a spot right here. You can see it has that tan center, almost white with a brown ring around it. That is actually Holcus leaf spot. It's very similar to eye spot looking, but the lesions are usually a little bit larger and a little more isolated on the leaf. So this is Holcus leaf spot, which is another fungal leaf disease of corn that I'm finding. Typically, Holcus leaf spot doesn't cause a whole lot of economic damage, but there is quite a bit of it out here in 2015, along with a lot of other diseases as well. This leaf here, eye spot, is what I'm finding on a lot of cornfields. Another overwintering fungal disease. If you hold the leaves up to the light, I'm not sure if we'll be able to see it that way. You can see some of those small spots with a halo around them, kind of yellow in the middle, yellow to light green with that yellow halo around them. If you hold them up to light, you can really tell eye spot. As we move north in our state, especially in corn on corn, in the western Iowa here, we're seeing a lot of eye spot on corn, and it's definitely an issue to keep an eye on. In 2010, we had a major outbreak of eye spot in western Iowa, and the guys that sprayed fungicide saw significant yield gains. So northern corn leaf blight, we got eye spot. Looking here, right here, got a couple of leaf diseases going on this leaf. This first one here, you can see those brick red pustules. That is common rust. So common rust blows up. It does not overwinter in western Iowa. Common rust blows up from the south every year, infects corn leaves. Again, it's a fungal leaf disease that can be controlled with fungicide. When we get really severe infections, it's usually on years when it's wet and cool early, and then it turns hot and dry. So we'll see what this year brings. Again, 2010 was a good year to see rust, but it usually comes in every year just at different levels of severity. Southern rust is a little more cinnamon color. This is common rust. Southern rust is actually a little more damaging, not as common in Iowa. It also blows up from the south, but southern rust have a little more cinnamon color and a little bit smaller pustules on the leaf. So here's another example of some rust I'm finding here on this plant right here. So definitely a lot of diseases. I'm sure if I look around, oh, here's the one right here. So this one's a little more cosmetic. You can see the eye spot here on the top of the leaf. So there's eye spot going on. But right here in the midrib, seeing these brown little dots kind of right on the midrib, that is actually Physoderma brown spot, which is a fungal leaf disease. Again, it overwinters in corn residue. Again, that one's a little more cosmetic than actual damaging. So usually don't see a whole lot of yield losses of that from that disease right there. Anthracnose leaf blight is a disease I was finding a lot early on. Usually you see that in the lower leaves. A lot of splashing occurs early on, and those lower leaves will get infected with anthracnose leaf blight. It is the same disease that causes anthracnose top dieback and anthracnose stock rot. It's the same fungal species that causes all three stages of the disease. However, just because you have anthracnose leaf blight does not mean that you are guaranteed to get either of the other two forms. So anthracnose leaf blight has been common with how wet it's been, all the splashing, but it is not indicative, or doesn't 100% guarantee that you're going to get top dieback or the stalk rot phase of that disease. Definitely some nitrogen deficiency going on out here in this field. This is very common sight in western Iowa this year. We had a lot of rain in June and late May. I think that's going to be common. We'll probably see a lot of tipping back. You know, these corn plants are going to run out of nitrogen as we get into the season here in grain fill. So a disease I do not find in this plant here is a gray leaf spot. That might be a lesion right there, actually. Gray leaf spot typically will have a little more rectangular look, where northern corn leaf blight's more of a cigar-shaped lesion. Gray leaf spot is usually about an inch long lesions, kind of separated by the leaf veins. They don't get real wide, but almost perfect rectangles in a lot of situations. So if that is a gray leaf spot lesion, these here could be gray leaf spot lesions here on the bottom side of the leaf. So that looks about pretty darn sure that's gray leaf spot there on that leaf. Another fungal leaf disease that overwinters in corn residue. This one typically works its way from the bottom of the plant up. So if you got gray leaf spot infection, the lower 3 leaves or so will have gray leaf spot lesions on them, and it'll work its way up the plant. A very aggressive disease in cornfields, and definitely one you want to watch every year. So should a guy be spraying fungicides? Here's a little more eye spot. With the level of leaf disease we have this year in cornfields, my recommendation to a lot of guys is go ahead and spray. We're at tassel time here. We got a lot of disease. If your fields look like this one, it'll definitely pay to spray fungicide given the level of disease infection. And you know, that proper timing is about right now. So you get to that full tassel stage, right before you move into brown silk, you can still spray, but that full tassel to the early brown silk is about your best bang for your buck when you're spraying fungicides for corn leaf diseases. If you're going pre-tassel, if you want to get in there early, kind of stop some infection, pre-tassel, make sure you take all surfactants and crop oils out, because we've seen arrested ear development or kind of that blunt ear syndrome. Sometimes when you spray those surfactants over the top of corn prior to tassel, you can mess up ear development, and nobody wants to do that at this stage. So right now we have high yield potential. We got near $4 corn for new crop corn. Return on investment, you're going to take about 7-8 bushels to pay for your fungicide. And I think we're going to get that for sure with this much disease infection in western Iowa. So again, this is Shane Brockhoff with AgriGrowth Hybrids, looking at diseases in western Iowa. This is July 15th, 2015.